everyone. Welcome again to the Good Vibe Show. It's another episode, and this time we have a very special couple, Dr. Harmeet Singh and Dr. Rachna Singh. Welcome, sir and ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Good Vibe Show, and we have good vibes on
Yes.
the show. And you have coordinated colors.
Yes, we are twinning. Yeah.
It's great to have you, sir and ma'am, and your former IAS officers. But what really strikes me is that you both resigned and you following your creative passion.
Yes. Yeah.
Harmeet sir is following the art, the filmmaking, the photography passion. You are following your writing passion.
Yeah.
And Dr. Harmeet Singh is from the medical background.
Yes.
And you're from the literature background.
Yes.
पहले तो ये बताइए, how did you meet and how did this partnership evolve? शुरू कैसे हुई?
So you want to go first?
You go. He might make
Well,
sense.
well, it's been a long time, but we met in National Academy of Direct Taxes. That is our parent academy, where we were training. And he is 90 batch, I'm 91 batch. So when I came in, they were just about to leave. So we kind of met and we talked and we realized that we were compatible. So we went on from there. And he can fill in the gaps for you.
No, we just clicked. I think when we met and we went on a few dates and things clicked. A lot of things were in common, a lot of interests were in common. And that's how it
Ma'am is reading somewhere that from number crunching to the literary world and both kinds of flavors are there.
Yeah.
What you told me right now is a very matter of fact.
Pragmatic.
Something must have clicked a little more. Like I was in college when I met my wife to be. So what really clicked? I mean, so what I.
Now the secret.
We had this small mela or a fest kind of a thing in the campus.
Yeah.
And she was the DJ playing request songs.
Yeah.
So I went down and I gave her slip, and they did, the two of them, they didn't play the song.
Me and my friend, we were playing.
7 o'clock in the night, they played the song.
Yeah.
It was the foreigner song, Waiting for a Girl Like You.
Yeah.
That is how it
happened, and all his friends and colleagues came out.
Something is up. They were kind of.
कि क्या हो रहा है सरदार बताओ what's happening,
Very compatible, and I must say you're compatible even today.
Yeah.
Both studied in Punjab as well. GNTU, I noticed something.
GNTU, I did my graduation from there and my master's and MPhil from Punjab University. But my father was in the army, so we were posted all over the country. So wherever he was posted, we would go to a school, whether it was a convent or a Kendriya Vidyalaya.
But this journey, I mean, it's been so diverse in terms of your education. If we start with you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a topper, you got gold medal.
Yeah.
The Nehru Fellowship.
Nehru Centenary Scholarship. Yeah.
And study abroad and brilliant academic career.
Yes.
And that question. And why the revenue service?
Well, there's a long story. In fact, I tell everybody that it was whimsical fate that prodded me into the revenue service. I'd never planned to go into civil services. In fact, I wanted to be an educator, and impart my love for literature to students. But what actually happened when I was doing my dissertation for my MPhil, I started planning ahead, So my professors told me, why don't you apply for a PhD doctoral thesis in Cambridge and also apply for Nehru Centenary Scholarship. But at the same time, I had a relative in my family, close relative, who kept prodding me to try and do my civils. So I sort of bowed to pressure. I gave my civil services exam and I also applied for my doctoral thesis in Cambridge and Nehru Centenary Scholarship. Then what happened was that I cleared the civil services. I was also given the Nehru Centenary Scholarship, but the offer letter from Cambridge had not arrived yet. So I thought that perhaps that's what fate has in store for me. So I went to the National Police Academy, Hyderabad, for my foundation course. This was on 16th of September, 1991. And just after a fortnight, I received a letter from my father which encloses the offer letter of Cambridge University, saying that they are offering me a place in their doctoral program. So for a couple of days, I was very upset. I didn't know what to do, because like going to Cambridge was like a dream for me. I was a youngster. Yeah. So then after a lot of thinking, talking to people, I finally decided to continue in the civil services. And here I am. Yes.
I'm the worst for it.
Yeah.
But somewhere that creative element must have suffered. We'll come to that.
Yes.
Because it's a similar story. Not
Yes.
similar, but so you were a medical doctor. You are a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And you also decided on the civil services, which is not rare, of course. For an engineer, they ask the same question.
Yeah.
So how did you come the civil services way?
I remember having finished my MBA and I talked in the university. So, a few days after the result, we were standing at a coffee shop in the evening with my few friends, and they had some forms and they had. I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "We are filling up forms for the civil service." I had no idea what civil service was. What do you pay for? I said, "Show me the form." That's it. I said, "I am the topper there," and the ego thing. And I am the best quizzer. I've done the North Zone and All India quiz competition, won them. I said, "Yeah, if they can do it, I can also." I know. So just to prove a point to them, I filled up the forms, cleared prelims, cleared mains in the first attempt, and then cleared the interview in the first attempt. I got into the IPS, and then my parents said, "Nothing doing.
Yeah.
You are not going. You are a doctor." My teachers who were there in the medical college, they came to my house. And we gave me distinctions and medals, not to limit it.
And the IPS.
So we reached the midway. I said, "Okay, I will not go for IPS. I will take IRS and I will take 1 year extension." Okay. So I took 1 year extension. And but then slowly, everyone told me, "No, no, you must go to much better." So I then went there.
Okay. So how was the career, sir? I mean, basically, obviously, like everyone else, got transferred. Yes. Must have faced some obstacles. Like, came out of that. Then ultimately, you decided to. I mean, putting it very succinctly, but decided to quit.
Yeah.
While in service, you were like cool and comfortable, and I mean, you were in the zone. Nothing uncomfortable about it.
We did have other issues. I mean, my art basically created a few issues for me.
Yeah.
I would do an exhibition and I would be on page 3, and my bosses obviously would be very
not too happy about
how are you a star? And then they would pull me out.
Yeah.
It's not working now. And I had all outstanding ACL throughout my career. But they would always say, "Kaam nahi karta."
Just on the lighter side, supposing you'd been on the Good Vibe show at that time, they would have said, "Arey, the Good Vibe show will be
Somewhere they don't want their subordinate.
That's an ego thing.
Yeah.
I was SDM Talka and I used to be in the papers at that time also. I don't know why. And my DC that ज़्यादा paper में मत आएगा. कोई कोशिश तो करनी है. They just like the way I run around. I'm 24.
Obviously.
Go and it's all very kind.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, you kept up your love for writing.
Yeah.
Did you give it a pause and were you busy with the revenue service a lot in the beginning?
Yes.
Like some of us, I mean, for 10 years in service, perhaps.
Yes. Absolutely. You're right. Yes, absolutely. It did. Initially, when I joined, I mean, the transition from literature to the nuances of economics and finance was pretty, it was a huge leap. Yeah. So for the initial 15 years, work took precedence over my writing. Then it was after 15 years when I became a little comfortable navigating the income tax space. Then I started, snatching some time out during weekends, writing, penning middles and book reviews for Tribune. And, I would write for the Indian Express and all that. And that was the way I kept in touch.
I think she did do her PhD.
I did my PhD, of course.
When was that?
So that was, I got my degree in 2003. So this was after I joined the civil service. No, I didn't take study leave, but it took me about 8 years to complete my thesis. So obviously, because it was very difficult to juggle, such a heavy job. I mean, it had a lot of accountability and responsibility, and we were very conscientious. Yeah.
In 2001.
Huh.
And then she,
yeah. And I
got into Tribune, and that's how then it continued.
And I also opted for a slightly low profile job. I went into the tribunal, the income tax appellate tribunal.
You opted for that?
Yeah, I opted for that so that I could put in some time and work on my thesis. So that's how I managed to. Yeah.
We say the line posting.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And you don't feel bad about it. There was an officer, a very senior person, who was posted as OSD, sorry, Joint Secretary attached with OSD. OSD rules to put a line, hey. Joint Secretary attached with OSD rules like nothing. And then his OSD rule was transferred out. So who is he attached with?
It's just in vacuum.
Something like that. So when you quit, was it a difficult decision? I mean, I also quit the service. Was it difficult? Was ma'am also planning? Was it a conscious decision? Did it just happen?
I had been trying. I had gone to UK for my MBA, 2006-7, and that's when the world really opened up, and I saw a different aspect of life. And on coming back, I was quite keen to quit in around 2008-9. I wanted. And then everyone said, "Nahi, abhi to we were so young." And
the children were also young. It was a big risk.
Typical.
Yeah, I know.
And then I said, okay. And I think another 4-5 years when most of the promotions were done, house was made, children were settled. Then I said, no, that's it.
And another trigger, I think, was also the fact that we were posted in different places. In the initial years, we were posted together.
Right.
But as we became senior, we started getting postings all over the place. So for in the last 11, 13 years, I think we were never together. So it was like, two different establishments.
It was getting difficult.
Yeah.
Constant traveling. I was posted in Chennai, Calcutta,
Srinagar also for a bit,
and Jaipur.
Yeah.
So it became a weekend marriage was kind of because children also start questioning that why are you not available at the time.
Where were the children studying?
Children were in
here, and I had taken again a low profile deputation. I sort of held on to Chandigarh, made sure the children,
They would always say, why are you not here?
They were right.
They demand.
So before we move on to the literary, creative, artistic part, any difficult moments that you have overcame and how do you overcome them? You don't need to describe the moment, but how do you overcome it?
Yeah, a couple of times, two, I would say, not just the service, also in my personal life. In 2008, I lost my mother suddenly to cancer. It was unexpected, out of the blue, and she went in just 3 months. So because she had been a very close friend for me, a confidant. So that was a very, very tough time I went through. And that was the time when Harmeet was posted out. He was in Chennai, I was here with the children, and I was trying to, I was struggling through despondency, depression, a whole lot of things. But I slowly sort of came out of it. And for that, one thing I would say is that I learned from my daughter, out of the mouth of babes, they say. Because I remember she was very scared of the dark. And one day she was sitting in the bathroom with the lights off at night. And she was there for almost half an hour. And I asked her, I said, Beta, why are you inside? So she says, I'm scared of the dark, but today I've decided that till I can face my fear, I'm not coming out of this place. So that was like a, turning point, a pivotal point for me. I suddenly realized that if she can do it, why can't I do it? So I sort of, then decided I have to come out of this sense of depression, So I did.
I mean, we evolve, right? I jokingly say to a youngster, once a version चल रहा है iPhone का 16 something. तुम्हारा कौन सा चल रहा है? And they're like, evolving, am I
Right.
overcoming my
Yes.
fears and anxieties, or
Yes,
am I getting
yes,
bored?
absolutely. Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah. So learning curve is always there as you go.
how about you, sir?
And largely the office space, you have one or two run-ins with your boss.
Yes, he had plenty of them.
And I was a bit outspoken, bit brash, so I had my share of.
He would sort of take the bull by the horns, and
I
the
would
bosses
not
didn't like
listen. I
that.
had this reputation, this punta nahi. And they would initially try, and then they would give up on me. Kya business sunna nahi.
The batsman and IPL, but the guy promising. He reminds me, he doesn't listen to anybody. So, now coming to the creative element, there are three realms in which you are filmmaking, art, and bird photography and photography. So nature photography. So how did you develop that interest? Was it always there? Which one was there earlier and which one?
Yeah, no, painting I think was there. I remember doing it in the academy.
Yeah.
Full 1 year I was painting.
I was impressed.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. That was the first thing I was impressed by. Yeah.
And I remember on the farewell day, I had done a huge 8 feet by 4 feet artwork for the officers' mess, and that was unveiled by the Minister of State for Finance.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing for me.
Right.
And after that, it kind of continued. I had a lot of, I was in Jalandhar and APJ College of Fine Arts and got in touch with a lot of good people. And I did at least 7, 8 solo shows all over the country.
Yeah.
Between 94 and 94.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of run-ins with my bosses.
On this point.
Yeah, on this point, yeah.
I was on page 3 of the newspaper, and next day I was transferred out. How dare you become?
There's this cartoon recently where the lady comes and says to the voter list guy, he says, "Aapka naam nahi hai voter list." She's like, page 3 pe dekho. Would you like to show us a glimpse of your art, maybe on the camera? Maybe we'll show it later also. But what you do now, recent
This
one?
is
Yeah.
my recent, this is my catalog, Whispers of Silence. These are my acrylic artworks. These are big size, 4 feet by 4 feet,
4 feet
and 5 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah.
And 2 of them had gone to Dubai. Recently, I had a show.
World Art Dubai. Yeah.
And,
So how do you now, I mean, people invite you, the fragrance spreading, and it's like you have to
both ways. I think both ways. You have to apply to a gallery or to a show, and then they look at your CV, look at your artwork, and then they curate it. You have to be kind of selected. Artworks have to be selected, and then certain shows have a piece, and certain shows are invited. And at times we have our own group when we all come together and.
I come to the third part later, the documentary films, which will be made and which are already made. Let's talk about the photography part. Like, it's a little bit to the visual art.
Yeah. So I was doing photography when I was in college. I would participate in those typical fests, click a photograph. And I remember getting photographs because we didn't have color, so we would send the film to Fuji Film in Japan, and they would print, and we would kind of. It was very impressive. And later, I think we had gone to Bharatpur when he took me to the Bharatpur bird sanctuary.
My father had been posted there when I was a young girl, you know.
And,
so I'd fallen in love with that place. So I said, yeah.
The birds.
Yeah.
And painted stroke, I remember painting it also and then photographing it. And then slowly that thing came. But I didn't have a good camera. Small cameras would click well. I think 2013 or 4, my son, he went to US and he said, what should I get for you? I said, please get me a camera. Good camera meant 400 zoom and that's how then you suddenly start observing the world opens up. That the birds have small feathers, and then the small feathers have small feathers.
Yeah.
And there's so many colors which you don't see with naked eye.
Yeah.
And
yes, even I know someone who takes beautiful pictures of birds and videos, and also like the moment we know that the word file is part of our career,
Mhm.
but then file and life have the same letter.
Yeah, actually.
And life is much more exotic than a file.
Yes,
So that
absolutely.
lure of creativity, obviously.
Yes, yes, yes.
now, I mean, I am not that kind of a religious or a person, but I feel when early in the morning I go
Yeah.
to the hills, and then I am able to see a bird through my lens. That beautiful display of color. फिर मुझे लगता है कि यार भगवान के दर्शन तो आज ही हो गए ना, अब कहाँ ढूंढ रहे हो?
Connecting with the divine, bilkul.
Connect.
Yes.
So that's a very special feeling, and you feel his presence.
Yeah.
You, ma'am, I mean, what is that connect with, let's say, the higher superior power, the creative element? Has this brought you also closer? I mean, first let's talk about the written word which you love so much.
Yeah, well, literature, like I said, was my first love. And I would write middles even before I joined the services. After that, like I said, I stayed connected with the muse to that extent. But then I suddenly realized that these articles and middles and book reviews I'm doing for the newspapers, they have a very limited shelf life, you know. So they are there one day and then they are sunk in the archives the next day. So I wanted to put my work together, you know, put the corpus together, document the corpus. Then I started toying with the idea of, putting together books. So initially it was something as simple as just documenting my work. But once I started doing it, the aha moments happened, you know, the creativity happened. So the first book that I came out with was Penny Panache. It was a collection of essays on contemporary economic and financial issues. The whole idea of the book was to break down these complex subjects so that even the person untutored in these subjects would be able to understand those. And then I also came out with Myriad Musings, which was a collection of my articles and middles that were published in the newspaper. Yeah, absolutely.
And the cover was done by me.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
The first one was a little technical. And then you came up with a more.
No, I came out with another one which was Financial Felicity. This one
picked up by Rao's study circle
as a part of the syllabus.
And they
for the
wanted her to
students.
do another book.
Yeah. So then I came out with Financial Felicity, again along similar lines, which were essays on economic financial issues. And then in this book, I had written an article on cryptocurrencies, on Bitcoin. So I started doing more and more research on Bitcoin. And finally, I had so much of material that I managed to put it together in a book, which was commissioned by Bloomsbury called The Bitcoin Saga. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The whole idea was again to simplify and to sort of break down the fallacies that had grown around this the cryptocurrency. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, we know the preference, so
yeah, yeah. So we are not talking about, it's not a do-it-yourself kind of a book. It just talks about how everything started from the subprime crisis and then how cryptocurrencies came about and how Satoshi Nakamoto started this entire movement, cryptocurrency movement.
Wondering at the diversity, man. I mean, there's so much, and then now we've come up with Raghu Rai's book as well as
yes. So I came out with another book. This was after I took VRS. I turned to literary writing rather than writing on economic issues. So this is a book called Phoenix and Flames. It's a collection of stories about ordinary women who become extraordinary because of their fortitude and grit. And here I've focused on, social ills like gender bias, like domestic violence, like underage marriage, all of that. And these are ordinary women because I feel that you will not find their names in books of history, nor will any paeans be sung to them. But you needed to write about them.
Inspiring for others.
Yes, yes,
Like
yes.
And she has known them. The true story.
So yeah.
Altered names.
Yeah. So basically, address them up in the fictional narrative just to protect their identity.
But I'm wondering at the diversity and the depth also.
Yeah.
Because you go deep into each subject, but they're different subjects.
Yeah, they are.
Raghurai is a very different subject.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
More to do with photography, of course.
Yes, yes.
I met him a few times.
Yeah.
You launched the book, basically.
Yes, yes.
And tell us about Wise Owl also.
Well, see, what happened after I took VRS, I wanted to obviously pursue my creative passions. And like I said before, I wanted to educate people and promote literature and art always. So, which is why I came out with the Wise Owl. And in fact, a lot of people discouraged me. They said, "Kahan se aayenge contributors? Kya hoga?" But Harmeet was very, very encouraging. He kept pushing me. He said, "You must do it. You must do it." And in fact, all the templates and all for the initial part of the magazine, those were all thanks to him. Yes, yes, yes. And so now we are doing a print, yeah, and now we've initiated the Wise Owl Literary Awards also. Yes, 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 yes. So we are in a happy space now.
Yeah, we are tight on time now, but we want to talk also. I wanted to ask you about the show. So talk about the show, sir. What is that? I mean, what is the financial, economic side?
Yeah.
I mean, all said and done, when I took here, they were to wish one, what to do, and two, where to get the money to do whatever.
Yeah.
So I knew a bit about stocks, and I've been into stock market for a very long time. So first of all, I started with the market, and I kind of set up my everything. That's from where I get the money and which I spend here. Right? So then every day she would ask, "Or kya chal raha market mein? Kya ho gaya?"
So we would have these discussions.
This was our breakfast or lunch or dinner conversation. And then one day we said, why don't we
put it on the record?
And we both put in, and that's how we talk on the show.
Yeah.
Discuss things very
break down. Yeah. Simplify issues. Yeah. No, not yet.
Not that I say people.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
But lastly, sir, the film that you made, just run us through that. And how is it that the very first couple of films you made are winning awards? Sorry, how did you become so brilliant as a filmmaker?
No, see, it's not like that. So not like that. When I was photographing, how did it start? I was photographing and just keeping the photos. Someone told me, why don't you document? The foreigners always document.
Yeah.
We as Indians don't document. Right. I started documenting. I set up two websites, one for birds, one for butterflies. And then I started combining the photographs in form of short videos or slideshows and put music and started a YouTube channel. And then slowly I realized, why still photography? Why not moving photography?
Yes.
So it became moving photography. And then I started correlating those clips and it became a story.
Yeah.
And that is how it came as a movie. Short movies, and then I realized the whole world of movie shorts, where they want you to be 3 minutes, you have to tell a story first, and not a 3 hour, 3 minutes.
One of them is on the phone itself.
Yeah, it's on the phone itself.
We'd gone to Jaipur discuss. He was moderating. We had 4 sessions. I was just looking around. Just started cleaning, and when I came back, I had so much of material that I created 2 movies. Incidentally, people liked what was there, but it didn't happen overnight.
It's a long struggle.
4 sessions at the Jaipur Film Festival.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of you. But lastly, man, tell us about the children. I mean, what are they growing up to be like?
Both of them are software engineers, actually. My son and daughter-in-law, they are software engineers with Meta in the US. My daughter is a software engineer with Amazon. But having said that, I will also say that they also have a lot of literary inclinations. They are both very fond of music. They're both very fond of drawing and painting. and doing watercolors. Anna does watercolors, our daughter does pen and ink, and he plays the guitar, she plays the violin. So hopefully one day, like us, they're going to come out of their coding.
Guitar from one of the leading guitarists in New York. He was in New York for 2 years.
Yeah.
And he continued in San Francisco online. And he has a collection of Fenders.
Yeah.
Maybe one day he will.
Yeah, one day you will.
They'll come like us, they will connect with their creative inner self.
From each of you for, again, people who are growing up in this era, what should they keep in mind with all the pressures, all the misinformation and extra information, challenges of life? I know it's a little bit of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like.
What would you like to tell them?
No, I think one is you need money to have a living, and you need something for your something for the heart,
food for the soul, basically, you know.
And you have to do both.
Yeah.
And that's in fact why I paint, why I'm creating painting, that what do I leave as a legacy? 40 years down the line, what are my great grandchildren going to look back and say, what did with these my paintings, my photographs, my everything? That is my legacy. To leave something for future generations.
I don't know the way things are. I can never say.
I think both on the show.
The pleasure to be here.
Very good vibe. Nowadays, that aura, that vibe needs to be talked about a bit more.
Yeah.
Mankind and science are not reached there where we are measuring the vibe.
Right.
Maybe later we'll all have a Ep44 and change it.
The happiness index, so we'll have a good vibe index. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for watching, and see you again soon.